Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon video. So today we got some new and exciting promo cards revealed. I don't exactly know when we're getting them in English, but when we do, these cards definitely look like they are doing some really powerful things and are definitely some really strong cards to want to consider picking up depending on the type of deck that you're playing. So first up, we have a new version of Agunimon. So Agunimon, his stats aren't anything too special, but he does have two really interesting abilities. He has a nice when attacking ability, where this Digimon can basically digivolve into an Ancientgreymon by paying 2 and ignoring all of its evolution conditions. But the only downside to doing that is if you do, you have to delete this Digimon at the end of the turn. So this is just really powerful on trying to get out an Ancientgreymon as quickly as you possibly can, and even if you need him just for the turn, that still could be just a huge power swing depending on how you want to utilize Ancientgreymon, but considering he basically just wants to hit for a whole bunch of security, the whole intention is you're going to be using this ability to just basically warp up into an Ancientgreymon, swing with Ancientgreymon, break as much security as possible, and then on delete utilize Ancientgreymon's on delete ability to get another free hybrid out. So this is just a really powerful card to play around with Ancientgreymon, and then on top of which he has another skill, which is his inheritable skill, where during your turn, when you evolve this Digimon into an Ancientgreymon from your hand, you get to reduce the evolution by 2. So this is exactly what Ancientgreymon really needed, just because digivolving for 5 sometimes is giving the opponent too much tempo and too much memory to play around with, so they could formulate a response, and being able to reduce his digivolution to something a little bit more normal definitely makes the card a lot stronger. Next up, we have a new version of Lobomon. So this Lobomon is doing basically almost the exact same things as the Agunimon, except the condition to basically warp digivolve up into his ancient is a little bit different, where Agunimon's is on attack. This is on digivolve, but for the price on having a little bit more of a restriction on when you choose to warp, the evolution cost in which you're warping with is reduced to 1 instead of 2 with Agunimon. So even though this is a little bit more restrictive on how and when you could utilize the AnctientGarurumon, it's still a really powerful ability to have just because AnctientGarurumon is still just a very strong Digimon. And then on top of which, he has a nice inheritable skill where when you digivolve into a AnctientGarurumon from your hand, you get to decrease its evolution cost by 2. So again, it has some very similar synergies on how you want to utilize the card with AnctientGarurumon as Agunimon does with Ancientgreymon. Next, we have a new version of Palmon. So this Palmon is a really decent Digimon for interacting with digiburst, just because she has the nice inheritable skill of during your turn, when this Digimon is trashed using the effect of a digiburst, then one of your Digimon gains jamming for the turn. So this is really good because jamming is just a very powerful keyword, and green has a whole lot of interaction with digiburst. So this is just another really fantastic digiburst fodder card for basically any green deck that is utilizing this mechanic. Next up, we have a new version of Gatomon, and this Gatomon is definitely a pretty unique Digimon just because of what this card is doing. So what it's doing is it has 2 abilities. It has an ability that triggers on the opponent's turn, where if you have a purple Digimon, then this Digimon gains blocker. So we've kind of already seen previous versions of Gatomon want to play with the fact that purple Digimon are going to be in the deck. So this definitely is a really good card on playing with that synergy. And then she also has a really powerful on-play ability, where if you have 3 or less security, then you get to recover 1. So this is one of the best targets that Mastemon can pull from, just because you could utilize this card in so many different ways with Mastemon, and the ability to recover 1 is still really nice, just because Mastemon's ability is taking away one of your security, so this Gatomon is essentially trying to give you back that security that you just lost. On top of which, having a really decent potential blocker, just because Mastemon is purple, definitely is another really good application and use of the card. But she doesn't necessarily have to be a blocker, but I definitely like the direction of these types of cards, and I definitely think a good yellow-purple deck is trying to form off of cards like these. Next, we have Suna Lizamon. So Suna Lizamon is looking to be a really powerful black Digimon just because of the abilities that this card provides. So this is a really solid Digimon just to have sitting on the field, just because he has the ability where during your turn, your black Digimon with a 13,000 DP or more gain the piercing ability, and then on top of that, even if you choose to utilize him to Digivolve with, he has this really nice inheritable skill where during your turn, while this Digimon is black and has 1300 or more DP, then it gains security attack +1. So the big intended card that this is supposed to work with is going to be with a Blastmon and the whole Zubagon Punch kind of strategy, where you're just giving Blastmon even more keywords, and he's basically trying to be like a mini Ragnalordmon without needing to be level 7, but it's definitely a really interesting Digimon to be playing around with just for black in general, just because if you have some passive bonuses that can boost your DP, then if you're able to hit this type of a number, then you'll still be able to get this type of ability, and both of these abilities are really, really strong. Having all of your Digimon gain piercing if they have 1300 or more definitely makes them a lot more threatening, because piercing is kind of like an aggro and control tool, where you're trying to remove the opponent's Digimon and deal damage to them at the same time, and then just having security attack +1 definitely allows you to help close out games faster. So, like I said, the intended Digimon this is supposed to work with is going to be Blastmon, so he's definitely going to be getting a big buff from that, but again, I just think this is a generically decent black Digimon to be playing around with nonetheless. And then the last card out of the bunch is going to be a new version of Demi Devimon. So Demi Devimon, this version has a really powerful inheritable skill where on deletion, if your trash has 7 or more Digimon with Devimon in their name, then you could play one DoneDevimon from your trash for free. So being able to res a mega level Digimon is really, really powerful, and it's not necessarily hard to fill up your trash with a whole bunch of Devimons, just because it will include Demi Devimon, and it does include all of the evolved Devimons. So if you just build a Devimon based deck, it's not going to be hard to get this ability, especially since you're playing purple, and purple has just a whole bunch of consistency tools. Whether you're going to be looting your deck or self-milling your deck, it doesn't necessarily matter. It won't be super hard to fill up your trash with Devimons, if that's the whole focus, and DoneDevimon is a very powerful Digimon in his own right to just be able to recur and res for free, on top of which you're probably going to try to Digivolve up into him, so always being able to have a DoneDevimon on the field is definitely very, very powerful to think about, especially considering how good he is at trying to control what the opponent is trying to do. So I really like what all of these promos are doing, and if you haven't noticed the theme behind all of these promos, they're specifically targeting one mega to just make and enforce a new powerful iteration of those decks. So this version of Devimon wants to be played in a DoneDevimon deck. Suna Lizamon is trying to be played in a Blastmon deck. Gatomon is trying to be played in a Mastemon deck. So this Palmon's the only exception out of all of the bunch here, where this is just a more generic support for any digiburst deck. Lobomon's trying to be played in a new AnctientGarurumon deck. And Agunimon is trying to be played in a new Ancientgreymon deck. So I definitely like the direction of all of these cards, and I think all of these cards are doing a very good job at supporting their respective decks, and I definitely like the direction of all of these cards. What worries me is how promo distribution has been handled in English, where I don't exactly know where these promos are going to be, but I really hope these aren't tournament promos where these cards, if you are playing any of those style of decks, these cards are needed, and if these cards are really hard to get, then that might make the deck really hard to want to pick up and play. So I really hope Bandai gets their act together when it comes to figuring out how they want to distribute their promos. For the most part, dash packs and the memorial packs and pack-ins, that's usually a really good way and a really nice way of making these cards accessible, but their current model for the English version of tournament packs and event promos, those are a little bit less accessible just because of how they've been doing it. So I really hope that those change and become a little bit easier and more accessible, but I'm not going to be holding my breath because Bandai doesn't have the best track record when it comes to this type of stuff. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. Feel free to also follow me on Twitch over at twitch.tv/Zenitsu. Then if you also want to help support the channel, I do have a TCG player affiliate link down in the description below. And I do also have playmats that I design and sell. Link to that will also be in the description down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.